Hope you brought your coffee because we got some rambling to do. And if you give me 2 minutes right now, I guarantee you're going to stay to the end and we're going to talk about one of the weirdest, most boring things that you would think of that is out there. And that's the prescription bottle. Yes, we're going to, and stay tuned. Here we go. You ready? Go. This all starts off, we got to start talking about baby jars to begin with. Because when I was young, I had 3 boys. My wife and I, my departed wife and I, raised together. And I was cursed with baby jars, just like most people, most parents were in those days. And I hated to throw them away. I always had some kind of shop, but it was a part-time in my garage type of thing. So you always have use for those storage, for those baby jars to use as storage containers. But there was 2 things about those baby jars that I absolutely hated. And the first one was that screw-on lid was the poorest excuse for a threaded lid I ever seen in my life. Both before and all the way till now. Nothing comes close to how bad that thing was. So anyway, and that was always creating minor problems or it wasn't screwed in tight. But the big problem with the drawback to the baby jar storing stuff was you have stuff in there, you have all these little small bolts in there, and you have it, you set it down on the counter, and then you bump it, and you knock it off, and it hits the concrete floor. Yeah. Not only now do you have 1,000 screws to pick up, or at least it feels like, but you got all this slivers of glass everywhere. So it was a pain having those jars in the shop. So, and I finally outgrew them, and I've been using other things over the years. Well, I have reached the point in my life that I am now collecting pill bottles. These are just my prescriptions. And over the years, I've increased the number of prescriptions I've taken. Plus, now I'm double duty because you know who has her share of them too. And she puts my collection to shame with what she takes. So anyway, and you can get them from all different ways, all different colors and shapes. But for a long time, I was saving because I thought I got to have a use for these things. And I actually have been using them over the years, and we'll get into that in a minute. But I have found that these things actually work so much better than baby jars. And I wish I had known about these, although back then you didn't have clear plastic containers. And jar was probably the only one that you really had if you wanted something to see through. So these things have come along since then. And they are awesome for doing that job. So these are the best replacement, as far as I'm concerned, of the baby jar. No more baby jars. So, of course, I haven't had those for a long time around here. And, yes, we do have plenty of the pill bottles, the prescription bottles. So, with that in mind, let's talk about this very simple idea of what are you going to do with these. First off, they come in all sorts of different sizes and shapes and different lids. And you'll find that you have your own... I had one here, I thought, that was a screw-on lid. Oh, yeah. I mean, this is actually kind of a nice one. But unfortunately, I don't have very many of these. But one thing I've learned, I used to have this mindset that, they all got to be the same one when you got them, so you have this nice collection. And when you're storing stuff of different sizes and shapes and different material, sizes are not the most important thing anymore. Fitting them in there is the biggest thing. Be able to see what's in there. So I don't look at these things in sets anymore. I look at them individually. Is that one going to take care of this particular idea? How many do I need? So anyway, I've got little single units of these all over my shop that I use for all sorts of things. I'll show you some of the things that I do to use my bottles in so many different ways. You won't believe it. And I think you'll enjoy that. So we'll get there in a minute. But the shapes are really nice, but get rid of the idea that you have to have them in sets or whatever you're doing, because I have learned since then that that isn't important. But let's talk about some of the nuances of the prescription bottle as a result. One thing I like about these is that you can see through them very easily, but there is a nuance to that. If you take an item like this one or this one, I actually have more than one item in there. And if you look at this, when you pick it up to look at it, don't hold it in your hand and try to look at it, what's in there. Turn it upside down and look at it, and it's like turning on a light and being able to see. Or on its side, like this, and look at it. You'll see everything in there without any problem. So get rid of that idea that the easiest way to look is just bring them out and look at them. If they're on a little shelf or in a drawer, they're either laying like this or sitting like that, because then I can see what's in all of these different jars readily, so much easier than if they were all sitting like this. So, quick note, make sure you store them. So let's also talk about, sometimes you don't put just one item in the jar. Let's admit it. This is a poor excuse. Where is it? Ah, here it is. This is a poor excuse and a waste of space for a jar, because there's just not very many of them little critters in there. But it has to be done. But there are a couple options about that. One thing, you could actually put two different sizes in there and let them get jumbled up, and it's no big deal. Let me show you what I'm talking about. This is going to give you a trip. There's one of my best friends. A little bench dog hole. And why do I like that? Let's take this as a good example. I have here. I have both the screw and the nut. They came as a set. Some 1032s by 3/4. So you got both the screw and the nut in there. I didn't separate them out and put them in two containers. I just threw them all in this one, and I put the label in here so I know what I have. But now I'm going to need 5 or 6 of them or something. That's what's great about using these things. Give yourself a little bench dog hole, and I can take and just dump out a few that I know I ought to have enough there to get 5 of each out now. So I'm going to just take this, and now I'm just going to quickly, on my bench, quickly and easily take 5 screws, 2, 3, 4, 5 nuts. Now I got to pick all that stuff up and put it back. Not really. Set that right underneath my bench dog hole. Take all the ones that I'm putting back, and voila, cleaned up real quick and done. Great little handy thing to have. Anytime you have a bench, you ought to have at least one bench dog hole to put things into and hold, or get a hole down the end or whatever. But also, it's a great place to clean up little messes like this. Now I got those, and I'm going to use those. So I'm going to go ahead and put the lid on upside down. So I have this little tray in here. Put it back upside down. Well, that was sloppy. You didn't see that. Just pretend you didn't see that. And now they're all right here instead. And I can pick these out and use them very easily as I need. And when I use the last one, I'll know that I don't need any more. Never mind. We won't talk about that anymore. You didn't see that. So anyway, that's one thing I like about these little pill bottles, especially with the reversible lid, is that you do have the option of all that going on. So sorting them out, putting more than one item in here is really not that big a deal. And then having to pick them all up and put them back. Having a good little old credit card sometimes will help, but it's really hard to come off that credit card and put it back. The bench dog hole is by far the best way. Now you can take and just make yourself a little tray like this and do it all in the tray. And then you can take the tray, tip it to the hole, and put everything in there. So a little tray would work, but if you got a bench dog hole, it's the easiest way to do it. So anyway, a little tip about that. So what else do we want to talk about? I like the reversible lid. If you have a lock on it, like here, I have so many different things. And this one, it has the dog's treats. If I do that while they're in here, look out. They'll both be right here looking for me because they know that sound. And they know it's their treats and they're going to get something good. So, anyway. But this one here, I almost forgot what we were talking about. This one here has a lock on it. I haven't taken it off yet. Those things are a pain. Just take and snip, snip, cut it off of there. Now I can take the lid that it's been cut off of and just open it up. I don't have to worry about fighting that silly little lock. But if I also want to, I can put the lid on this way and I have a nice little tray to be able to take some of this and put it in there, leave it set on my bench, and I can get what I need from all these different places. So that's really good at helping you stay organized, even while you're using it. And you have a bulk of them, but you only need a few. Easy peasy. So, anyway, you still there? Still got you, don't I? So, now let's talk about what are you going to do with them. Well, there are so many ways you can use them. And most of these, you'll never get a baby bottle to work in that idea. Check this out. Just a simple one. This is my glue gun, and I'm using a stick. All of a sudden, it runs out, and I got to put another stick in there. So now I got to fudge again another one. Not with this. I just took the bottle long enough to hold that in place. Took the lid and drilled some holes so that these fit in there, but they're snug, so that way they won't tip out. Now when I'm ready, I can just grab one, pull it out, stick it in there, and keep going. And I always try to keep it a couple, 3 in here. You can get up to 4 in this at any one time. So before I start a gluing project, I make sure I have enough sticks here as well as what's in here. So it makes it nice to have these right close at hand. And I have something similar on my other hot glue gun like that. That turned out to be a great addition to this glue gun. That is a great glue gun anyway. So what else have I done with it? Oh, check this out. Right here, I have long stem items like my little quick clamps, mini clamps, and things like that. I got a screwdriver and a long stem lighter. Makes it easy to throw that stuff in and out of there. So they're great to put just about anywhere. That one I just put one screw through the bottom, drilled the hole, pre-drilled the hole, screwed it down gently, and it's been used like that ever since. And it's a great little way for me to throw some stuff into. And you don't need the lid if you do that. So let me show you another one. This is what I was talking about, where don't try to use all the same size. Use the bottle that fits the use that you want. And here's a great example in my hardware cabinet of how I use them. Check it out. So, in here I have about probably 10 or 12 different items. Cross dowels, set screws. Now these all have one thing in common. They're all 1/4 20. So I keep on my wall, I keep on my 1/4 20 items, whether it's a bolt, nut, washers, or the oddball hardware. That whole horizontal row there, that top one, where I took this out, that's all has to do with 1/4 inch 20. If it doesn't have anything to do with 1/4 inch 20, it's not in that row. If it has something to do with 1/4 inch 20, it's in that row. So I can always find it. This is a great way to take a small amount of drawer space and turn it in to be able to store so many different items. Imagine trying to keep all these different boxes in here that you have to lift out and move around. I can see most of what's in there without even going through it. Or if I want to see one in particular, I can pull it out and kind of throw things around a little bit to see a little better here or there. So these things are great to help keep your drawer organized. And I like it better than trying to put little patterns in there, because try to get that last couple of nuts out of that when you have that little cubby hole down there, little square. Whereas here, I just pick it out, and you saw how easy it is to take out what you need and put it back when you're done. Much better than those little partitioned off square areas, by far. So, get rid of those and organize your drawer so it's more efficient for you. Not necessarily it looks neater when you open it up and place it into your eye. So, it looks like chaos, but it's actually better order than with little partitioned off little cubby areas. So, what else? Let me show you one more thing. Oh, I have to turn around here. On my workstation here, it's an all-metal cabinet that I've had, and you've seen this in here several times. Well, in this cubby here, I keep my prescription bottles. You can see all these ones just hanging around. But these are all my different leads. And all I did was, I took, let's take a look, see if it's this one. Nope. Bear with me, it's this one. This is the way I put the magnet in there. I set the magnet right in the center, and then I just filled it with glue all the way around to hold it in. If you do it less, don't be cheap with the hot glue, because if you do it less, it'll pop back off. And I don't put the glue between the magnet and the plastic. I only put it around the side and then up over it. And that seems to make it hold up real well in there, so that that magnet never pops loose from the lid. But this makes it so easy to pull out what I want, move things around to get to one of the other ones. And it's such a great way. So magnets are a good friend when you do that. Also, if you think about it for just a second, these bar magnets here, I have one there and I have one up here with screwdrivers and stuff on it. You take one of those and put it underneath a shelf area where you have some space that you're not even using. And then you put that magnet bar up there. Then you could just take and hot glue a washer in there, a big washer, in the lid instead. And then you can use those bar magnets to put a whole bunch of these things up there. So anyway, it's just a thought. That's some of the things that you can do with these things. They are awesome. So anyway, all I can say now is, gotcha. I made you stay for over 15 minutes. And you thought this was going to be boring. So, gosh, I can't think of anything else I want to tell you about these things, because I'm finding new ways to use them all the time. They are very handy. So find a source for good bottles. Oh, let's talk about that real quick. Did I talk about the source? These are prescription bottles. So obviously, between you-know-who and myself, we do collect a few. So over the years. And this particular style I like the best. It's a locking lid that is reversible, so I can use it in a couple different ways. I cut the child lock off, because those are a pain in the ass, and there ain't no kids around here. Besides that, if they want to eat a big bolt, have at it. So anyway, I like to use these, and I get these because we just seem to collect a lot, but you can get them from anywhere. This one here, it's still got some of the glue on it. I didn't clean this one off very well, but if you take the time to clean the labels off of them, then you can see through these things very nicely. This is from a grocery store, so you have lots of places that you can get these little storage containers. But the pill bottle is really one of the best replacements for the baby jar, as far as I'm concerned. And you don't have to worry about that thing breaking if it hits the ground. So if you don't have a source for these things, you can buy them in bulk, but they'll cost you probably around 30 to probably $1 a piece. And if you buy them in lots of 50 or more type of thing. So it would be expensive, but you could do that, and then they would all be matching. But I have also learned I like the variety, because sometimes 2 small ones for what I'm doing, it works much better than 1 big one or 2 big ones. So, or maybe 1 of each for what I'm doing. So I like having the variety, and you got to get out of that mindset of having everything match with these things, because it's not practical. And so once you get past that, you'll find so many more uses for these things to use them, and collect a wide variety of different containers. And remember, those sources come from so many places that it'll boggle your mind when you start thinking about it. So, pill bottles, it's almost a curse, like the baby bottles were when I was younger. Sorry. Anyway, throat gets dry. Anyway, that's it on those. You stayed till the end. Congratulations. Now, real quick. Yesterday, we had freezing rain out here. I have a dead tree that's been dead for many years. This year, we decided we better take it out. Yesterday, it fell over. And it's sitting right between my shed and the neighbor's house on the driveway there. And that house is abandoned, so it didn't hurt anybody. It did damage that house just ever so slightly. Didn't even touch my shed. It dropped itself right on that driveway, and you look at it and you go, you couldn't have dropped that tree any better than that, because that thing was a leaner anyway. It used to be a 2-limb tree with a V in the middle, about 4 foot off the ground, and it had 2 really big trunks. Well, the one about 5 years ago fell over and dropped down, and we got rid of that one. But the other one has been there all this time, and everybody tells me, and this thing is like 35 feet tall, 40 feet tall, so it's no little baby tree. This thing is huge and old. Everybody would say, man, that's going to cost an arm and a leg. All the tree surgeons out there, they were talking $2,000 to take this thing down, because they're scared to death of it. And if you fell any trees, you'll know that thing was a widowmaker. So anyway, it fell over. I could take you out there and show it to you. If you guys are interested, leave a note, let me know, and I'll do a quick video of it out there, and you'll see how big it is. But when it came out of the ground, the roots underground finally gave way on it. And you can see all the new roots, the ones that were still holding. There's like 6 or 7 of them back there. We'll see it. But when it fell over, it pulled the roots out of the ground too. It made a bulk of them. So this whole ball came out, and I got this 4-foot diameter and about 2-foot deep hole now where that tree is sitting right next to it, and you see this ball just sticking up in the air. And it's amazing that that thing didn't fall over sooner, quite honestly, when I see how little was holding it in the ground. So everything was just right. It just fell over on its own in the freezing rain. So, and it was so freaky because that happened yesterday. And she was, you know who was at the back window, and she looked at, watched it fall over. She just happened to be there looking out the window. I was in the kitchen too, but I couldn't see what was going on from where I was. And all of a sudden I hear her go, oh my God, it fell over. She watched it fall over. She could only see the top of the tree because the shed's right there. And I heard it. Everybody heard it. So I walked out there to see how much damage it may have done to myself or the house next door, which is an abandoned house. I went to check it out, and I walked through the back gate out to where it goes out toward the front yard, and there's like 4 or 5 big trucks out there, We trucks, which are the energy company from this area that supplies the gas and electric. And they happened to be on the pole behind the house next door doing some work up there. So they had all these trucks there. They all saw it fall too. It freaked them out. And one neighbor that from behind back there also, he happened to be there. He was filming from his back porch. He was filming those guys up on the pole, and he saw it, and he's not sure whether he got much of it or not, but he may have a picture of it where it fell over. So anyway, that was quite a little happening yesterday. So that was pretty exciting. Also, I'm still working on this is going to be the box for that Ryobi power supply unit. And also, I've got the fence done on my Robs, R-O-B-S, Ryobi oscillating belt sander. Come on, Robs. Anyway, I've got the fence all done. It's pretty simplistic in its idea, so it won't take much to show you. So I'm also doing the dust collector, the way I'm going to have it set up. And so we'll do both of those here pretty quick. I think that's coming up pretty quick. And I still got some good ideas on all the other stuff that we're going to do with that. So don't think I forgot it. But I did want to talk about something, so I thought I'd get this off my chest. One more quick thing. I got a letter from a viewer about 4 or 5 days ago and said, well, Microjig finally made a version of my version of the gripper. And I thought, wow, really? And you have to be familiar with my gripper. It was actually the very first video I ever made was on that gripper. It was the idea and first one. That was the first gripper I made, and I did it. And I ended up making about 9 or 10 videos now with the evolution of that as it's changed over the years and where it is now. So anyway, so I went and looked at it. It's called the Gripper 2 Go. So it's Gripper 2 space Go. Go see if you can find it. I'll leave a link to the video that shows how to use it. It's about a 6-minute video. And if you don't mind, I'm going to leave a link to my first video and a link to the whole playlist. So if you're interested, I would love to hear your opinion. And we're going to talk in detail about this on that video about how I should feel about them using this. I didn't know they were doing it. They just came out with it. Did they copy mine? I don't know. They do look, and I left them a note. I dropped them a line and said that looked eerily familiar to my 6-year-old version of a gripper. And it does. It has that same reversible capability that mine does. So there's no moving parts theoretically. And but it's some interesting differences too. So I dropped them a line about that, and they said that they weren't familiar with my channel. And that's not surprising. I think the views on that are somewhere around 50 or 60,000, maybe, or maybe it's only around 10,000 on that one, if I remember right. So it wasn't even one of my more successful videos per se, but it was my first one. So you have to bear with that idea too. Anyway, they wrote back. I told them, I said, that looks eerily familiar to mine. And then I said, well, if you want, send me one. I said, since I'm an expert on how to use it already, maybe I could give you an honest opinion of how it works compared to mine. And they told me to give them my address, and they're going to send me 2 of them. So I thought that was an intriguing idea. I assume there'll be no strings attached, because there better not be, because I won't take them if they are. But in all reality, I really am interested in getting a close look at those. And if you're interested, I'll show that all to you, and we'll look at it together. Compare it to mine. Is it better than mine? Is it worth having to spend the money that they asked for that, and compared to what it costs to build mine? Well, we have a lot to look at on it, and what is better about it. Maybe I might even steal an idea from them. You never know. I've been known to do that with other people, but I always give credit. Don't get me wrong, and that's part of what I want to ever discuss. Should I feel violated, or should I feel flattered that they took my idea and ran with it, and that they're going to make something successful with it? I don't know. I'd like you to look at other videos to see how it compares and looks compared to mine. And then give me an idea of that. If that happened to you, how would you feel about it? Would you feel like they stole it from you? Can you prove that they stole it? Maybe they didn't. Maybe they came up with the idea the same way I did in my harebrained idea. That was an idea in my head. I didn't get that idea for anybody. I built that based on the idea of what I didn't like about their Microjig, the original gripper with all those moving parts. You watch my first video and you'll see what I'm talking about. Anyway, I've got that in the works too. After I get those, we'll do something with that. And I'll keep you abreast of little things as we go along here if anything exciting happens. So stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. Come back, because we're not anywhere near done. Oh, I spoiled it, didn't I? Listen, if you like this video, you learned something here, and if you stayed to the end especially, you got to hit that like button. But anyway, even if you learned something here, hit that like button. Lets me know and YouTube know that I'm doing something right. Most importantly, though, please, sincerely, I do want you to come back, because I'm nowhere near done. And you're going to want to bring your own drink if I say Ramblin' Russ in the title, because look out. There's going to be a lot of rambling, so you might as well be comfortable and have that cup of coffee. And I'm glad you stopped by and had this one with me. You have a good day, and we'll talk to you guys again very soon.